my fall bass fishing box, if I could just have 3 baits, 3 for shallow and 3 for deep, I'm gonna break it into 2 categories, this is what they would be. Hey everyone, James Niggemeyer here. Thank you for tuning back into my YouTube channel. The last video that I uploaded got a great response, a lot of views, got some good comments, and one of the anglers left a comment asking me to put together a fall bass fishing box. And so I thought that was a great idea, and it's kind of a perfect spin-off from my last video, so we're gonna do that. I think that bass fishing in the fall can be a little intimidating because it's known as a junk fishing time of the year, where you can catch one on a shaky head, you can catch one on a top water, you can catch one on a football jig, and a couple other baits, and somewhere through the day you end up with a 5 fish limit on 5 different lures. So in order to minimize the kind of the clutter and focus on baits that are probably productive more days than not, I'm gonna give you my fall bass fishing box. If I could just have 3 baits, 3 for shallow and 3 for deep, I'm gonna break it into 2 categories, this is what they would be. If you guys are new to the channel, please hit the subscribe button so you don't miss any of the comment. And if you like this video, give me a thumbs up, share it. Enough of that stuff, let's jump right into it. The first bait I think that you have to have in a fall box when it comes to deep water fishing is a spoon. I've caught some great fish on a spoon during the fall. A flutter type spoon like this one. This one's a Strike King Sexy spoon. This whole thing was kind of originated right here in East Texas. And since then, guys are throwing spoons twice this size, maybe even 3 times this size out on the Tennessee River chain, and even here as well. But these bigger flutter spoons have such an erratic action, and that's what makes them so potent. A lot of times you have fish that are chasing balls of bait, or they're swimming underneath these balls of bait, and they're looking for dying or shad that are fluttering back to the bottom, catching easy prey. And these spoons, as they flutter down to the bottom, can get a reaction strike, but they look like something that they're trying to take advantage of the easy meal, and the spoon definitely does that. One of the things that I think you gotta have is you just can't have one spoon size. You gotta have a couple of different spoon sizes. And while this one's an ounce in size, it really fits into this smaller package, a smaller size profile, especially in comparison to the flutter spoon. I think that's important because sometimes the bait isn't always big. It's not gizzard shad. It's small threadfin or whatever type of bait fish you might have in the lake that you are currently fishing. So something in a 1/2 ounce or a 3/4 ounce or 1 ounce like this, in a gold or a chrome or white like this, bait fish patterns are going to be a key producer for you in the fall. The other thing that I think you'd have to have, and I really feel like it's a crossover bait because you could fish it in shallow and deep, would be a swim bait. Swim baits anywhere from 3.25 to 3 3/4 to 4 1/4 size really work well for catching fish in the fall, actually year round, but for catching fish in the fall when they're relating to or chasing bait. I've got this on a Strike King Squadron head, and that's a 1/4 ounce, but I also catch them on 3/8 ounce. The key to that is throw it out, let it sink to the bottom, and slowly reel it along the bottom, bouncing along the bottom, sometimes a little higher up off the bottom. The beautiful part about it is you can adjust where you fish it in the water column based on how fast or slow you reel it, how you keep the rod tip, and how much you let it sink. So that's a critical point, trying to figure out where they are in relation to the water column, and closer to the bottom or higher in the water column and in that deeper water. That's an important part of trying to get bit on swim baits or any bait when the fish are following bait in the fall. And then you've got to have a fish head spinner. This one's made by Owner. It's a flashy swimmer, and this one's made by Strike King. But a fish head spinner or chin spin, depending upon where you are in the country, or they call them underspins. These guys are great because that little bit of flash from the spinnerbait blade draws fish to the swim bait, and then the swim bait just looks so natural by the way it swims with the boot tail. It really works in shallow and deep water, like I said, but I'm gonna put it in the deep water category because I think a lot of times guys will fish them in that deeper water. And for suspended fish as well, which you have a lot of in the fall. That's the Flashy Swimmer. I fish it basically in two sizes, 5/0 and 3/0. The 5/0 comes with a 1/4 ounce weight. The 3/0 comes with a 3/16, I believe. And just pair it with your swim bait. This is a 3.75 Striking Rage Swimmer. Your pearl, baitfish colored, like your albino or like a green gizzard, you know, baitfish type stuff will work really well at imitating those shad, shiners, or what have you that group up this time of year in that deeper water. Last, you gotta have a drop shot, and the drop shot is a killer for catching them when they don't really want to chase and they're hard to get them to bite things that are moving. The beautiful thing about the drop shot, say if my leg was the bottom and the fish are suspended up off the bottom, that bait can kind of sit right at their eye level, and you can not necessarily move it a great distance horizontally across the bottom, but you can shake that slack and keep that bait right in the strike zone, right in front of the fish's face without moving it too far. So the drop shot's tremendous. You can catch them video game fishing, which is vertically below the transducer on the bow or on the back of the boat. When you see them down there, drop that thing on them. Sometimes you need to back up because they're kind of weary of the boat's presence, and throw it over where you remember they were after you've graphed them, and just kind of soak it there in front of them, and it's a great way to extract those deep water bass. The drop shot's awesome anytime, year round, all water columns. It's just a great way to catch fish that aren't aggressive. When we move into the shallow water column, of course, you know I love to throw a spinnerbait, one with white blades in the fall. I definitely give that a try. Sometimes they want that tandem, which is Colorado willow. Sometimes they want the double willow. Sometimes they want chrome and gold. Sometimes they want a solid white. In clear water, generally a translucent pattern. Mix it up, see what they want, but based on the watercolor, your more solid or brighter colors in the stained water, and your more translucent and natural stuff in the clear water. One other thing, again, staying in tune with the whole match the hatch and the smaller bait fish in the water. Sometimes they don't want that full size spinnerbait. A 1/4 ounce one like this with a smaller swim bait on the back will definitely get you some bites. I love throwing a lipless crankbait, and in the fall, it's a fish catcher all the way in through the winter. That tight vibration in the rattles definitely gets you some bites. Again, matching the hatch, bigger baits, 1/2 ounce or maybe even 3/4, but generally 1/2 ounce most of the time. And then the 1/4 ounce works really well anytime the bait's really small or in shallow water. But the lipless crankbait works really well over grass, rocks, mud flats, anywhere there's presence of bait in the backs of the creeks or in the pockets. Lipless crankbait, cast it out, retrieve it back. Pretty simple bait. Sometimes I'm yo-yoing it, sometimes it's a stop and go. Play with it to see what the fish want. Lastly, in the shallow water category, I've got to have a square bill. Striking 1.5 square bill really gets it done this time of year. It's a tremendous fish producer year round, but in the fall, hit it into rocks, docks, wood, anything. That square bill is going to be great at deflecting off cover, which is why that bill was designed. And then of course, if the bite's tough or if the bait's small, that Striking 1.0 square bill is awesome. Those are the baits that I would definitely suggest, you guys. There's a lot of different baits out there. You could catch them on a football jig or a Carolina rig in the fall out in deeper water. And you can catch them on a fluke type bait or a Striking caffeine shad in shallow water, or a buzz bait or some sort of walking bait like a Striking sexy dog. But I'm minimizing what I have to offer based on trying to focus on baits that work day in, day out under most of the conditions. And those are some baits that I think, those are 3 that I think will work in deep and 3 that I think will work in shallow. So those are baits I would suggest you definitely give a good look at. That's it for now, guys. If you like this video, please give me a thumbs up. Share it with your buddies on social media, and leave a comment. Let me know what you think. Thanks for watching, and until next time, good fishing.